You're listening to the LaRocque Life Podcast, where hosts Michael and Laura explore relationships, adventure, freedom, and just some all-around real and raw conversations, drawing from their 17 years together with a bit of sarcasm, humor, tears, a few and lots of love. They deep dive into the male and female perspective on relationships and navigate the highs and lows of life together. Sit back, grab your love mug, and let's get into today's conversation.
All right, babe. Episode 44. Let's try this again. What are we talking about, buddy?
Well, we're going to talk about masculinity this round.
Perfect.
So last episode, we talked about modern feminism. And if you haven't watched that or listened to that yet, definitely go back and give it a listen. And if you have listened to it, make sure you let us know in the comment sections of whatever you're watching from, or shoot us a message, because we really love to know where you're at, what people's viewpoints are, if it hit triggers, if you agree, whatever that is. We definitely like to hear that from you. So, but because we kind of, we're a little hard on the women last week and on modern feminism and kind of how that's confused men and has brought us to this place now of passionless, disconnected marriages and relationships.
Right.
So we want to talk about the men's side and what we see with working with people and in our studies over the last couple of years, what we're seeing from men that, they can take responsibility for and accountability for to start creating change for themselves and for their marriages or relationships, right?
Yeah. No, 100%. That makes sense. And like I said, most guys we're just kind of wandering around, not really. We just don't have a passion. We don't have a real direction. And I know myself, I felt like I just fell into life. It just kind of happened to me. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan after high school, after anything, right? It was just kind of got to find a job, got to pay rent, got to do this. And then as growing up on a small farm, and then, I was like, well, I should probably not going to university. So I was still waiting for those acceptance letters.
You didn't even apply for university, did you?
I don't think I could have filled out the first top form.
I'm just thinking about forms that you have to fill out for anything. Like, Laura, can you fill this out?
That was my sister, poor Brenda, man. She was like in the family, she was the go-to, like, you got to fill out this form for me, sis. Like, okay. But anyway, so I got this trade and so I'm carpenter, and it just happened to be good at it, right? Because, grow up on a farm, you can figure stuff out. It's what it was, right? And from there is like, you want to make more money, you got to go to school for carpentry. It's like, okay, well, I'll go to school. And then each year you work your way up the apprenticeship, and it's like, okay, now I hit the top of it, and it's like, what now? And then, yeah, you just got no passion. And I see some guys out there that have it for carpentry. It's like, holy shit, I wish I had that. I really do. It's just a job for me. It really is. Right. And I mean, there's glimmers and there's windows of it. That's like, oh shit, we accomplished something. But now being on the office side of things, which I get, and we'll talk a bit about, the whole office environments, but, I don't see it myself, maybe because I grew up in that, coming up through the apprenticeship side of things, or in the field, I guess we'll call it. I don't feel any sense of accomplishment at the end of the day, no matter what I do. We were just joking about my minute taking. It's like, it's embarrassing. Or it's not even embarrassing. It's like, it's painful. But again, it's who I am, right? And I gotta stick with what I'm good at, or know what I'm good at, and that's what it was. But it's a battle, and I'm working hard at it, and it's coming along. But that's life, and that's what we were talking about before, where we have like, everyone wants to be passionate, like, oh, I want to work towards my passion. It has to be, I need this to be happy in life, or most men need a career that they need to be happy in life. But it's like, yeah, I mean, that's great. And that's finding like the sweet spot. But I mean, most men, especially as masculine men, we just have to work to provide for our family. We have to work to provide for ourselves and for our tribe, right? For our immediate family, or whatever we have on the go. And it might not always be so passionate, or it might not always fall right into what you need to do. But Stefan Arnio talks about, where he's like, you're a man, you got to fucking work. Like, it's what we do. Right. So it's interesting. And I find myself in that, and I dance with that back and forth, where it's like, oh man, I just want a job where I can wake up and skip out of bed and just be so happy to go to work. But I think that's a fantasy. I don't know if that even exists no matter what. Like, I mean, with our program, where the programs are running, with your coaching, with doing videos, like that's what really lights me up. With all this stuff, it's still, you're not going to hop out of bed and just be super jacked about it. Like, I mean, work's work regardless.
Yeah, I think anything can become work if you let it. There is keeping this level of excitement around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a responsibility of yourself. But I wanted to take this back a few steps because you kind of just like jumped right into it without us sort of explaining a little bit of where that was coming from. Because right before we hopped on here, I was asking Mike if like you think all men need to have a job or a career that, you know, is they're passionate about and brings them purpose, because I think that that's a part of the problem in today's society. And you might say like, you know, the millennials, or what is it? Is it Gen
X, eh? I don't
no,
know why.
Isn't it Gen Z?
Fuck,
I don't even. How do we even know this? Not know this. But right, like everyone just kind of rags on them about being lazy and just playing video games and all this kind of stuff. And yes, times have changed a lot. Like we were just talking about the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right?
Yeah.
And how like things were so hard and tough, and they're not now because we're just have advanced so much in technology.
Well, just everything in general, right? Your old man was talking about hunting and they threw a couple deer in the trunk. It's like, you can't even get a trunk now that'll fit a couple deer. So it's things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the world is different. And so it's just kind of, it's evolving at a really fast pace. But I guess we're just kind of discussing what we want to talk about today is relationships, and how, you know, last week we talked about women kind of being more in their masculine and men being confused and being a bit more standoffish and not knowing how to act around women, but also being probably more in their feminine because they're not as purpose driven and they're not as motivated and, you know, out there like crushing goals.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like women are kind of doing that and they're like, we don't know where to fit in or what we do, or if we're like sexist or
yeah, you don't want to get Me Too'd or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah. And so, but then I bring this back to, so should every man only be doing a job that brings him, you know, joy and passion and purpose?
Yeah, I really did just puke that out at the start, didn't I?
Yeah.
I guess we were talking before. Sorry, guys. We were talking before, then I just jumped straight into that. But
yeah, so I asked you that question.
Yeah.
And that was your answer, right? Did you, because now I can't remember if you said before, or you said now that you don't think that every man needs to find purpose in his career specifically, but he needs to find purpose in something in his life.
There has to be purpose with something. And that's every guy I talk to, we talk about it a lot, is whether it's going to be that career, you got to find a career that at least you're going to make money, you can sustain your family, you can do different things, and you can get through it. If that's, I mean, that sounds terrible, but at least you can work your way through it. You'll get through it. End of the day comes, that's fine. And you can go on your merry way and do your stuff. Right. And if you can find something that just lights you up and you skip to work, awesome. That's great. That's an unbelievable thing to have. But most people, if you can do that and just, you know, support your family, do what you have to do, but have a passion outside of that, whether that's, you know, for myself, when was that, last week, 2 weeks ago, like getting out to the gun range again, it was just awesome. It was unbelievable. My back of my head hurt. I was saying, like, I was smiling so much I couldn't stop, right? Just like a giddy girl. Giddy gosh.
Why do you have to make this about giddy girls?
I don't know why I said giddy gosh. I get it's like a twitch or like a fucking, it's like I couldn't stop it. Anyway, so there's that. And then even talking to a few guys about like knife making, I really want to get into that, and like watching like forging videos. I mean, it's still very masculine things, I suppose, we're getting into or talking about, but
yeah, but that's because I think it hits a deeper desire, like an innate.
It's our instincts, man.
Exactly, an innate, like an instinct that you have that gives you that provider and that protector mechanism. And I think a lot of men are like, "Oh, why am I attracted to this?" But it's like because it is your instinct.
That's what we are, yeah.
But we've moved so far away from this kind of stuff that, and so fast that you're like, "Well, I don't need this. Why does this interest me?" But it's still there. It fills something within you, right?
Absolutely. That was yesterday ice fishing even, right? Like we had our families out, like we had, like for me anyway, like there's no better place that I feel more full, more alive. It's like I have my family with me. Everyone's like laughing, playing, having fun. We're fishing, didn't catch fuck all, but we're fishing. And just, you know, like having, like we're eating out there, like fucking eating deer meat and like just all these things. That's what brought me joy. It was like, this is where we're supposed to be. This is life. It helped. It was a beautiful day out. And when the sun came out, it was awesome. Right. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that helps, but that's the kind of stuff that lights me up. And it feel like an instinctual, this is what we're supposed to be. And I kind of I don't know if I kind of got a little lost in that first rant, but just talking about like office side, like we're not made to sit in a fucking office or a cubicle all day.
It's so disconnected from everything, right?
Everything. It just seems so gray, even like we're outside fishing and it's like fucking the sky, the trees, the snow so bright, everything's bright. And you're sitting in an office.
I feel like you could have just wrote a song. The snow's so bright.
Got my dog. But it is, right? It's just, you go in my office, it's like, fuck, it's so bland. I don't even know what color that is. And it's like you're underneath artificial lights and it's just, I finally have a window. Moved up in the world. I got a window in my office now, but it's just, fuck, man, it's not what we're made for. It's just, it's not.
So I think, like, obviously, if someone's listening to this and they're a man thinking, well, yeah, that sounds great, sounds easy, but like, I hate my job, my marriage is passionless, or my relationship is, we have this disconnect, and I'm just moving through the motions. What would be your first recommendation for someone in those boots? Like, they can't quit their job. Because you kind of said this, but I was thinking, like, obviously, as you pursue different passions, you probably down the road can start making money with that passion, but it's not going to happen like overnight, right? You're not going to snap your fingers and just be like, and you might think you're going to, but in all likelihood, you're probably not, because you have to build your skill set. You have to build just experience, right? And get known for certain things. And so it does take time, which I think is where a lot of us, and I mean, we've even gone wrong in the past, right? But you said, like, there is a time when probably your passion and your purpose intersect, and that does become your career, right? But again, that might take years to get to. So if you're sitting here right now listening to this, just feeling like my marriage sucks or my relationship sucks, like she's doing her thing, I'm doing my thing, what would be your biggest piece of advice for men listening to this?
Well, we say it kind of with everybody, just get selfish, for me anyway. Like, as a man, like, get selfish with yourself, take care of yourself, look in the mirror and really have that honest conversation of, is my body where I want my body to be? If not, I got to start moving. I got to find time to start moving, because I'm talking to a lot of guys about that too. It's like, well, where the hell am I going to find time? I got to be at work for 6 a.m. I get home at 6 p.m. or whatever time you get home. And then it's like, we got to have supper. I got to spend time with my kids, or that little bit of time you can. And, it's just hard, right? And you feel like you have nothing. Then it's like, well, now I have no me time, and which I'm 100% like, that's why I stay up and watch TV at night, right? I feel like that's my decompressed time, but it's not. It's not good for you, because then you're groggy in the morning and everything else, right?
It just sets everything off. So it's definitely new habits.
It is. You definitely got to get selfish, and you got to look in the mirror. And I'm a big proprietor on it. You just got to move. I think my whole life, anything that's been positive or any upswing in my life has been because I felt physically fit, physically strong. And again, that goes back to our instincts of, we got to be strong enough to protect our women, to protect our tribe. And we have to be, like, everyone jokes about, the fat one, like, you'll be as long as I can outrun the fat kid, I'll be fine. Right. But you just don't be that fat kid. Like, it sounds fucked up to say, but I mean, you have to be confident in your own self. You don't need a fucking 6-pack and slabs of meat on you or nothing like that. It's just, you got to be physically strong. You have to feel that.
Yeah, because obviously you feel strong, so you feel confident. That alone brings a purpose, right? Like,
100%
I can
it does.
protect. But also, me over here being all like, okay, well, everything is a feeling, everything's an energy. And so obviously when you feel good, you have more energy to go and do the things you want to do. But then also you're going to attract back to you. You're on a different frequency, a different vibration. And so you're going to attract different people. You're going to attract different experiences, different opportunities.
That's the big one, yeah.
To you, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess, so what you're telling me is that your very first recommendation for men who are feeling stuck and stagnant, and whether that's in their relationship or their career or whatever, they just know it could be better, is to start moving their body.
Start moving your body.
Lifting some heavy weights.
Yeah, get selfish, move some heavy weights. You don't have to do fucking...
Don't break your back.
Yeah, don't break your back. Work your way up. But you don't have to do like... don't go on like bodybuilding.com and look at like reverse, triple, sow cow, fucking tricep pullbacks, whatever that looks like. Thing? Not at all. I think I mixed some figure skating in there.
Yeah, I was like, that's figure
skating.
Back
in the day, I used to be a figure skater. No problem. We'll talk about that again.
That's so masculine.
But just keep it simple. There's 5 lifts that all you need to do, right? And you just get some heavy weights, get some heavy fucking rocks if you have to. Do whatever that looks like.
Yeah, it doesn't have
sandbags,
to cost money.
Whatever that looks like. But that, and then walking. I've been doing a lot of reading on things, and like I always used to be under the understanding of, you know, needed interval training or needed to like sprints and needing all the like go for runs. You're right. But a lot of things are going back to like walking, and like you go out for a walk for half an hour. Which does, obviously, we'll talk about it, like a lot of the mental side of things too. But physically, walking does a ton for you. And even, I used to say it all the time, right? Like you were always, let's go for a walk. And I was like, well, fuck, man, I walk all day at work. I'm going to walk. I don't want to go home and walk around a block or something, but it's different.
Well, yeah.
I mean, steps are steps. Levels. Steps are steps, but it's going to be different, right? So go walk with a purpose, like walk with some speed to it. But I mean, walk and just think of like, you can let yourself kind of, don't walk looking at your phone the whole time, like just...
Or even listening to anything for that matter, right? Because
just be.
It's kind of nice to just have your head clear and just be present in your surroundings and watch the vehicles drive by or check out the birds in the trees, hear the sounds, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just really become present in your body. And oftentimes we're consuming so much all day long that it's nice to just like go and be, right? Yeah. You don't have to do anything or consume more stuff, take up more space in your head.
Exactly. But no, that's a big one. I know, like I said, everything that good in my life always came off of that. As long as I was feeling good, feeling strong, feeling fit, everything else kind of works its way out and plays itself out. And then you have energy to play with your kids. You have energy to build things outside. You have energy to cook, to clean. You'll be better in bed. I mean, you'll have stamina. You'll be able to do different things, right? Like do different positions. Like most guys, you can, you know what I mean? Like just, I mean, it sounds crazy, but that is like,
yeah.
You don't want, you're out of shape and everyone's like, well, my wife doesn't find me attractive. Like, well, would you find you attractive? Fucking breathing like a dog over top of her, fucking 40 pounds overweight. Like, oh yeah, sweat in the eye. Like, yeah, thanks buddy. I'll see you at the beach. You're so hot. So, I mean, we have to think of it that way. Like, I mean, it's as funny as it seems, it really is. Like,
and what's actually really funny though, and the reason we share this kind of stuff is because it's from experience as well. We don't just sit on this couch and make fun of things. Like, no, we're literally making fun of ourselves.
Oh, massively. Yeah. Do you smell pepperoni? That's just my sweat, baby.
Numb.
But yeah, it's so fucked up. But it all comes from that, or a lot of it comes from that, right? And then everything else, it makes everything else easier from there. Then then you can get more into, you know, doing more reading, finding that purpose, and then having the energy to actually, you know, pursue that purpose and finding the confidence to pursue that purpose, right? You know, a lot of people, I know myself before looking on the outside, is like, man, I want to be an influencer with videos. I want to do a podcast. I want to, you know, be a public speaker. I always talk about wanting to be on stage and talk. It's like, okay, go on stage and talk. And I'm like, well, you know, be like Lennox. Oh, I got a sore stomach. My neck's sore. You have to work your way up to that.
Yeah.
They talk about it lots because I was just watching UFC last night. Like there's different levels to the game. Like there is levels to it. And you got to work your way up to those levels. You can't just jump in and fight. Like even MMA, like you can take the champion and take the number one contender. This is the second best person in the world at that weight class. And that champion can make them look like the biggest idiot, doesn't know how to fight, but they've been fighting their whole life. Yeah. And then the next fight, they'll fight somebody and just make them look like they're just different levels to the game. And that's just how everything works.
And don't you think it's, would you say a wounded masculine trait, because it's all in your ego, to think that you need to be good at something right off the bat, and if you're not good at it, then you're just not going to do it?
A prime example of that.
Look down.
A prime example of that is like you got to, and typically I've been okay at things I start because, you know, you play sports your whole life and just kind of whatever. I can jump in on most things and be okay at it. Like not going to be great, not going to be whatever, but at least you can jump in. You got enough what is it, like your body awareness, or like you can move your body enough,
muscle
or
memory.
yeah, like you can just do things enough to get through it. But jiu-jitsu is a prime example of that. You can walk in, you can be the most in shape, fucking mean looking person around, and somebody like skinniest guy in the world will just ragdoll you and make you look like a pretzel in no time, right?
Yeah.
And your ego, talk about an ego killer, is like, whoa, and it just dies, right? But that's the prime example of like, you gotta work your way up to that. And it takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes consistency is the biggest thing, right? You got to keep doing it. Cause I was a prime example of, do it for a month and then just quit.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is stupid. I'm not the best.
I'm not good at it. Yeah. I wanted to just share something from the woman's perspective when it comes to a man taking initiative in his health, because I think on surface level, a lot of people think that it's like, oh, I want him to look good, right? I want him to have that 6-pack abs, or maybe that's what he's thinking. She doesn't like me because I'm not in shape, or she's not attracted to me because I'm not, that guy in that magazine.
Right.
But I think for myself and other women I've talked to is that it has really actually nothing to do. I mean, the physical appearance is probably the bonus, but it actually really has nothing to do with that aspect of it. What it is that we see you taking that drive, like you have that motivation, you have that drive, you have that purpose. And it's also like sexy to know that you care about your health, right? Like, because then I do feel like you can not provide for me, you can keep me safe.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
be
you can
around
protect me. Yeah. Protect me was the word I was going for. Yeah. So I feel like, okay, well, if you're like taking care of your body, it's sexy because it's like, okay, when you care about yourself, but then, you can protect me, protect Lennox, keep us safe. You'll be around for a long time. I mean, obviously that's not guaranteed. Anything can happen, but you have less of a chance of, that kind of stuff happening.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to share that because that's how I feel about you. And like, when you work out, I'm just like, yeah, make time for it. Like, I'll gladly take Lennox for an extra hour today because I know you're working out, right? And this is where communication comes into play and starting to really understand each other in your roles, because I'm like, you're taking care of yourself, which then therefore benefits me. So I don't look at this as like, this is just another thing, or like you're off doing something like having drinks with buddies or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Not that I don't think you should go have drinks with buddies, but I'm just talking about like every day for an hour or two at a time. It's like there is that attraction factor because I'm like, well, you're really taking care of yourself, but it's not, for me, it's not like your physical body. Again, that's the bonus and that's a perk, but it's like more of a mental and emotional thing as well. And I know when you're down here lifting weights and I can hear you like grunting, and I'm just imagining because I've watched you before, but like lifting something heavy.
Yeah.
But I know that that's also releasing stuck and stagnant energy and emotions from your body, right? So that's why when I say it's benefiting us in many more levels than we think, right? Like, you're not just being selfish to take this time. It's like you're taking care of your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, and that definitely comes back to me and to our family and to Lennox and to our future.
Oh, yeah. No, I get that. Absolutely. And then that's where I used to always be so stressed about this office job, and then I'd come home and sit on the couch and just eat my feelings away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
then,
which the attraction factor was...
Yeah. And then, I mean, sitting on like, fuck, I'm not even watching TV. I'm like looking in the corner thinking about all these problems at work. And it's like, I'm not solving any problems by doing that.
Any problems away?
No.
Ever.
And then, I mean, I'm not spending time with you. I'm not spending time with Lennox. And then when Lennox did come up with things, it was always like snappy with him, and it just sucked. Like, there was no good came of any of that, like at all. But in my mind, I was thinking, oh, I just got to get home to go sit on the couch. Like, thinking that the couch was going to be my safe place or my reprieve. Yeah. But meanwhile, I was just causing even more problems there. Yeah. And I honestly think if I stay in that kind of energy, I would have made myself sick. Like, I would have worried myself like seriously sick. Something inside my body would have gave out. Yeah. And I take that for granted because I've never had to deal with that side of things with health wise. Like, I mean, obviously I always joke I'm like Oprah with my weight fluctuating the way it does, but I've negot to deal with any serious medical anything, right? And I again take it for granted, but I'm at my age now. I gotta start, you gotta start thinking about other things and really trying to keep this body going, because the more I am lit up now and the more I am finding passion, and the more now we're with Safe and Wild going, and it's only going to get bigger and better, and things are just keep growing, and we're living it. I'm really living my passion now. I want to be fucking around for a long time. Like I want to be here and I want to be able to do things. I don't want to be, we talked about before, like I looked at my dad and he was in tough shape the whole time that I remember anything, but he would always work. Like he would just power through it, right? And go to work and working on the farm and stuff. But he passed away. He was only 62 or 63, something like that. Like a fucking young man. Like I meet guys that are 62, 63, and it was like, I always say, it's like, oh, fuck, he's in really good shape. Like, that guy's in really good shape, whatever. And you're like, he's not that old. Like,
in good shape for his age, but he's
I always say that. I was like, oh, yeah, for his age, he's doing really well. It's like, he's not that old. And he isn't. That's such a young age.
Yeah.
And the amount of problems that my dad, when he did pass away, like inside his body was just fucking horrendous. So I just don't want that. I don't want to live like that, right? And now, like I say, now that we found something, like I'm really living it, and I want to be around for a long time. And I tell Lennox that all the time too. It's like I want to see him, and I want to see our future kids. Like I want to see you grow up. I want to see the man you're gonna become. I just want to see what he's gonna look like when he's older. Like just little like stupid shit, right? Like I want to see what he's gonna be like. I want to see what he does with his life. I want to, it's interesting and it's fun and there's reasons to stick around, and it's not all just superficial bullshit. Yeah. We have a lot to take care of. And like I say, as a man, I'm in control of all that. And are not in control. You're really not in control of anything, but I have to dictate where that's going to go in my own life.
Be proactive, right? And preventative.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
These things don't just hit you when you're 65. They're accumulative results, right?
Yeah, like my dad, I mean, that was 3 packs of cigarettes every day for the last years, right?
It's all your habits. I mean, if you're in some shitty habits now, you can start turning them around and simply walking around the block. If that's
the start,
step,
right?
That's okay. Yeah,
absolutely. And then I mean, that even goes into providing, and that goes into hunting, right? Like, you have to be able to walk around. You got to be able to, track. You got to be able to do things. And when you're hunting, and you can't just those things, like you can't be this giant mess of a man. Sorry, I apologize if that, but I mean, you got to hear this. If you got to hear it from me, like fucking lose some weight. But you can't just walk. Like, how are you gonna pull that fucking moose out of the bush? Like, how are you gonna do certain things? You have to be physically fit. But
most people would think I don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to, because now there's Uber Eats and fucking whatever else. They'll bring it to your couch probably if you pay the guy extra $5. Yeah. Like, just open the door, just come on in. Like, that is fucked up. Yeah, exactly. Like we've all been played into it, right? The convenience factor. But this is, again, where the reason we're talking about this is because we're talking about passionless, disconnected relationships. And so obviously you're listening to this, you want something deeper and something better. So this is the personal responsibility aspect, right? Oh yeah. Yeah. There was something I wanted to say. Do you want to keep talking about? Yeah, well, I was just going to say, to go, it doesn't even have to be about hunting, because they always make fun. Like, I always bug your one brother because he's like opposite ends, but he's a vegetarian now, and he does that for health reasons, not for ethical reasons, right? Mm-hmm. So he does it more but I mean, it doesn't even have to be hunting. You got to be in fucking shape to go gardening. Like, you have to pick your berries. You have to be in shape to do these things. Yeah, and I think that this year has really highlighted for us how dependent we have become onto systems. Oh, man. And that's why I think we are where we are. Yeah, because even I think we've talked about this before, where the gardening, seeds, and you couldn't even get carrot seeds in Alberta last year. No, I've seen people now. I was at PV Mart the other day, and there's people even those seeds are starting to run out. Yeah. Because everyone's trying to stock up now while they can, right? Yeah. And it's cool because a lot of people then started gardens. A lot of people are trying to explore now with canning, and people are sewing and just starting to become a lot more dependent upon themselves again, which I think it's good. It's a really good thing because, trucks go down, no supply, no food. Exactly. Power goes down. No heat. Oh man, it all done. And that's the other part. You got to be in shape. So that happens, and that could really happen. Well, yeah, I guess look at Texas, right? Yeah. They just had that big ice storm, and everything went down, and the whole power grid couldn't keep up. All that stuff, and that's a real thing that can really happen. And then it's like, oh, that won't happen to me. Blah blah. A fucking guy comes over to your house, is bigger, stronger.
It's like, hand over your freezer.
I want your food. He's like, well, he's probably going to get that food. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do to him. Like, no, you can't. Like, you can't talk your way out of that one. So I don't know, man. Like, that alone should fucking scare the shit out of people, being like, okay, I got to do something with my life. I got to do something with to protect.
But again, I think no matter, even if everything did stay the way it was, I think, if we had our power, we have our food, the systems, the supply, whatever, there is still this very high level of anxiety, this very high level of depression in our world today. And I think that if we really came back down to like being in tune with ourselves, men and women, like being in tune with our innate abilities, then we wouldn't feel that so much, because anxiety is worrying about the future, right? So if we know we can take care of ourselves, or at least put up a fight, then you can kind of take that anxiety away. Or like if we lost our job, we know we're in the shape, or we know we're in like the place where we're healthy beings where we can go out and find another job or another career. So you can kind of pull yourself away from the future thinking and be more present in this moment and do something about it. But then same with the depression, right? Like I think depression, a lot of it, there's obviously many aspects to depression, but a lot of it is having no purpose, no drive, no feeling confident, no feeling worthy, right? And a lot of it too is based on the past. So it's like, if we can start focusing on these things, like you're saying, that bring up the passion again, it doesn't have to be your job, or at least right off the bat, like maybe one day that does become your job, but finding things, and there is purpose in your health. And we just talked about this whole episode so far, like there is purpose in your health for all of the reasons we just said. So if that's where you're starting, then perfect.
Absolutely.
Right. And then that brings in more passion into your relationship, which then creates like another almost like jump in frequency, because then now you and your partner are more on the same page, and you just keep growing together, right? This is how the evolution starts, but it's always someone in the relationship taking a step up, right? And then the next person taking a step up. And last week when we were like kind of ragging on the ladies about being more masculine and being more controlling, and men are like, what do we do? What do we do in our relationships? Because she doesn't even need me. Like, she's got this. It's like, just be a man, right? Be a man. Do everything.
Yeah, but no one knows. Well, I guess when we say that, it's like be a man. No, a lot of people don't know how to do that, and they'll Google how to be a man, and then it's just like, well, what the hell? I guess we should Google it just to see what actually pops up. But do what instinctually feels right. But again, for me, the base layer of that starts with physical fitness. And it's not just gym muscles. It's not any of that. It's like fucking. You
don't even need to go to the gym.
No, just farm boy fucking strength and just walk and clear your mind. And that's all. That's the starting level, and everything will build off it. And then it's like, well, she said be a man, but as you start doing that stuff, she'll start getting attracted to you. That's that magnet. You'll pull her in with that, because you're being who you are. Yeah.
Well, you just have motivation and drive, right? You're having that purpose. This is what we always talk about. I think we've said the word purpose and passion like 100 times, but purpose, when your man has a purpose, you then can start to trust him, because obviously it's hard to trust. Like when you were really mopey, I didn't really feel safe, and I didn't trust you that we were going to be safe. And so it's like, I got to put on my masculine pants and get out and do stuff, right? Which is totally fine. But we didn't have that passion and that intimacy, because when you're feeling purposeful and passionate and I'm in my zone, like my radiance, and I feel good, then we dance, right? We know our roles, and we get to grow and evolve from there. We respect, we trust each other deeper. We can have these deeper conversations, what we want, we can express what we want and what we need. And that's another aspect of being a man that I wanted to quickly touch on. Yeah. Because we were talking about before this as well, that how when someone says like to be a man, you automatically think like, don't share your weaknesses. Like, and even maybe us talking about this today, you're thinking like, well, to be a man means that I'm like rough and tough and I'm in shape and I have a purpose. But being a man, well, you do, but then included in that is this,
it's an ability.
It's an ability to be vulnerable, right? Yep. It's an ability to be weak, but with the right people, right? Like with yourself.
Weak wouldn't be the right word. It is vulnerable.
But people look at it as weak.
Oh, okay.
That's why. Yeah. Oh, I guess, yeah. What I mean is that like most men will look at it as a weakness, but it's not. I think vulnerability for sure is a better word to use. And you can open up to people you trust, like your wife or your your woman, your partner, close friends, like your male tribe, whatever.
Yep.
Like your men's groups, essentially, is kind of what I'm getting at. Because you also, I think that like the toxic masculinity is like that ego state, and it's like the fluffed up chest, right?
Oh, yeah.
The big truck, and it's like, nope, I'm a man, like I am not weak, because their idea of vulnerability means weakness equals weakness,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But when you're in your empowered masculine state, you don't have to fear that, because you're like, yeah, I live my purpose. I am my purpose.
100%.
I have motivation and drive. So I will express my emotions to my partner or to my men's group or, to these right people, because I don't need to prove nothing.
No. And I always equate a lot of things to combat sports, but like myself, I noticed it a lot with boxing. Because that was quite in the party days and stuff, and out at the bars and doing whatever. And it's like, there's always, everyone wants to fight, and you got a peacock or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, you don't want to fight. It's like, buddy, I don't want to fight you, man. Like, I don't want to break my hands. Like, we can fight in the gym or do whatever, but I just don't want to fight you. And then, I was just talking to a guy the other day about this with Meadow Lake. Cause like, there's this time period from like for hockey players in Meadow Lake was just nuts. It was blowing up. And there's a lot of tough guys came out of Meadow Lake, right? Like a lot of tough hockey fighters, and they're all really good fucking guys. Like they're awesome people. And you talk with them, you're bullshitting, partying, drinking, whatever you're doing, but they don't need to fight people, or they don't need to
prove anything.
They don't need to prove anything. It's all been proven. Like they prove they will fucking put your teeth behind your head. Like they don't have to prove anything. They're done with that, right? And they can just hang out, and it's just having that confidence. And then that's where this vulnerability comes in. Like you can, as long as you're confident with yourself, you can be vulnerable. And the flip side, and the funny thing to that, or I can't even think of the word, but the more vulnerable I am, not mopey, not fucking whiny, not bitchy, but just vulnerable and open and talk about my fears, but talk about my fears with kind of a solution or like something with it, right? Or like a purpose behind it, makes me stronger. It makes seemingly in my eyes anyway, it makes the people around me kind of open up and feel safer. Like I'm creating that container, right? And anytime I'm around men being vulnerable, I find a lot of strength in them. I look at them like, holy fuck, you're a very strong person. Yeah. You be my leader. I'm okay with following you, right? I can follow that. And it's so empowering too for a man to be vulnerable. I think like you find the right people, you find the right container, and it's like, it just gives me so much strength. And if you can't do it with your partner, like what the fuck are you doing? You got to find that right. Like you're not right. Like I don't want to be in a relationship. If we can't talk like that, then what's the point? Right. But, it is. And it's so good to get that off your chest, because then it just frees up more space to, at least you know where I'm coming from. And you know what? Yeah,
I guess you're not wondering. You're spending all these times making up stories in our heads, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And we can actually then live.
Yeah. Well, you talk to some relationships that are, like people wonder why you're 60 and get a divorce or whatever that looks like. It's like you live with this person for 40 years and you don't really know them. You don't know them at all because you're spending so much time raising your kids or create kids and career, and then
focusing on distraction.
And you slow down. You're sitting beside a stranger, really. I mean, you're awesome at paying bills together and doing different things, but actual life is you don't really know, right? And I mean, we're here for such a short time. It's just life is too precious. It's too vulnerable. Like it's too. I don't know the right word to say it. I'm a little fired up, but
well, we just take it for granted, right?
We do, and it's so fragile.
Get to experience
that'd be the word
we want.
Yeah, like I mean, people. Like, I always thought, you think you're kind of not invincible, but you just think, okay, life's here and we're living life and whatever. But you look at a machine, you look at like a hydraulic ram, and it's like that thing will crush me, and then not even think twice, and then carry on its day, like doing whatever it does, right?
Yeah,
like
life goes on.
It'll crush you and not even think twice, and then you just carry on. So we have to really be careful of that, or be mindful of that. But sorry, I regressed, but get a little all over the place. But this is such a topic for me that I that's my passion right now, and I really, to help more men get into that and feel that, and the side effects of that, or the yeah, I guess it'd be sad. Like the repercussions of it are just awesome. Like you look at Lennox, like he's more relaxed in the house. Like he can play and he can ask me to play and we play and we just do different things. He doesn't have to worry about me sitting on the couch blowing up at him for no reason. Or
Walking on eggshells.
yeah, walking on eggshells, or yourself too, right? And you're just like looking on the couch like, who the fuck is that guy? I don't want my kids to remember me like that guy. Like, fuck, I want my kids to remember me like building tree houses with them and doing forts and running around and talking about our feelings too. And like,
Yeah.
I tell them I love them and hug them, and I want to be that, or I am that guy. I can't even say that I want to be anymore. I am that guy.
Yeah. But you have to be that first, right? So
Yeah,
you have to have the energy for that as well. You have to have energy to build tree houses.
Yes, exactly. So to answer your first question, it just get selfish. I mean, get selfish, but it's selfish in a good way that it's going to only help the relationship. It's only going to help your life. It's only going to help your career. It's going to help everything.
Yeah. And I guess we could close it off with this, because again, we talked last week about women being more masculine and feeling like they need to be more in control of things, whether that was before they met you or during the relationship or whenever that started happening for them. It's almost like as you start stepping up that masculine role and being the man, and maybe you never have in that relationship, but that's okay, because as she starts to see that, and there might be a time where it's like two heads butting, right? And it's like, well, wait, that's my role. No, that's my role. But I think that as men step up and take accountability for themselves and their health and their purpose, then women start to see that, and then they get intrigued and they're like, well, what are you doing? It doesn't come from a place of, I'm doing this in spite of, or I'm doing this to prove, or look at me. When you're being just authentic and doing it for yourself, she's going to feel a shift as well. And I always talk about this to women, like, embrace your femininity, tap into your heart space, and like let go of control and allow your partner in. But at the same time, now I'm saying this the opposite way. It's like for men, like do that. She'll feel it. She'll up level. She'll open up to you more, and then you can open up more. And it's just like this, again, a dance back and forth, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it's all energy. It's all felt. And she may be living in her masculine more because that's just what she's taken on from such a young age, or at some point in her, young 20s or mid 20s, when she realized that's what she needed to survive in the world or in her workforce.
Yep.
And then she met you, and you were more in this like feminine state because of where the world brought you to, right? It was like, don't be that toxic masculine, or you are in a toxic masculinity role, because it's like, don't show your emotions, and just like all over the place.
I was going to say it's kind of tough too, because I'm just reading a lot too of most teachers, especially in those early years, are females. A lot of fucking single moms raising kids. They're just not that, or the dads that are around, or that are that dad sitting on the couch, or the dad's playing video games and shit. So the kid has no choice. Like, you have no choice. That's you don't know, right?
Yeah. So I guess no matter where you see yourself and where you're at in your relationship, and this is what we do in Safe and Wild, is really to start opening that conversation of like what you want, and then figuring that out for yourself, but then having that conversation with your partner and starting to just figure out your roles. And if it's never been even like at the forefront, like it's not even in your awareness, then you're never going to know. You're going to keep living life and growing further and further apart, or having these fights or this conflict. And so we just start talking about feminine and masculine, and like embracing that within ourselves, and dancing between the two within ourselves, dancing between the two within our relationship to create more passion and polarity. But then we go into patterns and just like these cycles that we live through, and how to start stopping them. And then communication, right? Because every relationship needs good communication, but you got to be in tune with who you are and what you want, and then have that respectful relationship, have that respectful partner to listen to the communication, right? And to communicate back to you. But just kind of taking this all the way back to, it doesn't matter whether the modern feminism world has ruined relationships, or if men are toxic masculinity or disempowered or wounded masculine. It doesn't matter. None of it matters, because what matters is that right now you can change. I can change. We can change, right?
Yeah.
It all starts with an awareness, and then we can start creating a shift from there. So that's all I got.
Nope, that's perfect. I mean, there'll be plenty more episodes on this, but let's see where some of your feedback is. Let's start these conversations, and we'll just go from there. But that was awesome. I loved it, and we'll talk more about this. And
always.
Yeah, and we just keep coming, and it comes from the heart, and that's really how we feel. And it's only going to get better, and it's only going to get more men involved and more men thinking this way so that women can be women again. And I mean,
well, and women have to let men be men, but
yes,
this is what we talked about last week. So
absolutely. So
it totally goes both ways, but you just got to start with yourself.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I love you.
I love you too.
Love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at LaRocque Life Podcast and online at LaRocqueLife.com. Ladies, find Laura on social media at Laura LaRocque and online at LauraLaRocque.com. Have a request for a show topic? We love that. Send us an email at michael@LaRocqueLife.com or DM at LaRocque Life Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review.